Hi everyone, my name is Sean, and I'll be doing how antisocial personality disorder works. To start, my general purpose is so you guys get knowledge on a mental health disorder, and then by the end of the speech, my audience will understand how antisocial personality disorder works. Today, I'm going to inform you about the definition of ASPD, the criteria for meeting it, and confirmative examples of people displaying it. Imagine living in a world where guilt doesn't exist and where lying, manipulating, or even harming others feels no different than brushing your teeth. That is the reality for someone with antisocial personality disorder. Has anyone ever watched the show You on Netflix, where a character named Joe Goldberg displays all the acts I just said? This Gen Z show is trending this year, and a lot of people believe Joe Goldberg deserves better and how it is not his fault. Hate to break it to you, but the people who think that may have fallen for the character's manipulation. After learning about this mental health disorder, I hope none of you justify Joe's actions anymore. And then I feel like I am credible to speak on this because I'm majoring in applied psychology, and I just recently took and passed with an A plus in a psychological disorders course. And then also I've learned all about specific mental health disorders, and I've learned how to properly and effectively use the DSM-5 manual to diagnose people. And then my first main point, let me cover the screen. Now that we've taken a glimpse into living with ASPD might look like, let's take a step back and understand exactly what this disorder is, starting with the definition. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, DSM-5, the criteria to meet this mental health disorder is a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15. It is recognized as a chronic mental health condition that affects how individuals think, relate to others, and control their impulses, often leading to harmful behaviors and troubled relationships. And the image on the right is from the DSM-5 manual. As you can see, there's about 7 symptoms that you have to have in order to be diagnosed with this. You have to do 3 or more to be diagnosed with these 7. And then my second main point, having established what antisocial personality disorder is, the next step is to explore the specific criteria and contributors that mental health professionals use to diagnose this complex disorder. According to my psychological disorders professor, he states that the 3 biggest contributors are genetic, socioeconomically deprived circumstances, which we'll talk about that in a future slide, and then also biological influences. To meet the criteria is simply a pattern over time of violating social norms with aggressiveness, lying, and having no guilt or remorse for what happens to others. And then right here is from my lecture slide from my professor, the 3 contributors. My third main point, with the diagnostic criteria in mind, let's look at some examples of Joe Goldberg, like I said earlier, displaying his antisocial personality disorder. In season 1 of You, the biggest contributor, the socioeconomically deprived situations, occurred here when in the episode of a flashback, he was 12 and he shot his abusive stepfather and killed him, and then a couple years later, his mom would abandon him. These 2 examples can also contribute to a lot of other disorders, but abandonment, neglectful, and then at a young age, killing someone fuels this type of disorder. And then in season 5, the most recent one, when he's an adult, he turned 2 characters into the police, and he also killed another character, even when they were no longer threats to Joe anymore. This shows that he has no remorse and felt no guilt, and he even justified his own actions. And at the end of the day, um, he didn't care about what their families felt or any of that, which is why he had no remorse. And then here's my conclusion. As we come to the end of this presentation, let's briefly review what we've covered about antisocial personality disorder. Today, I hope I informed you all about the definition of ASPD, the criteria for meeting it, and confirmative examples of people displaying it. Antisocial personality disorder isn't always easy to spot, and people who have it can seem completely normal in public, which is why it may be nice to understand, feel educated, and informed on what really lies beneath this behavior. And then these are also my references.